So what we're really excited is that we're kind of, we do this every year, but now very rarely does it happen that something historic happens right in the middle of Black History Month when we're posting. And that is what's happened this time. So Derrin, first, let's talk about you and Black Girls Do Gymnastics. Give me a little bit of background about you and about the organization.
Okay, cool. So my name's Derrin Moore. I founded Brown Girls, Brown Girls Do Gymnastics, because there's a ballet also, so I have to say the whole thing when I'm talking publicly. I started in 2015, officially launched our Instagram page 2016, and it started. It's kind of a funny story. So Brown Girls Do Ballet had already started. They were like 2 years maybe ahead of us. The owner, founder, her name is Takia Wallace. She's a photographer. And so her daughter wanted to do ballet in Dallas, and she didn't see many brown and Black girls. So she launched a photography project with all Black and brown ballerinas. And from that, it just blew up. I mean, the photos were gorgeous. She has hundreds of thousands of followers. And one day on Instagram, she says, well, what should I do this year? And I commented and said, start a gymnastics one. And I went back a little later and was like, I didn't get any pings from my comment. I thought my comment was great. And and I go back and look and it's gone. And so I was like, she deleted my comment. Like, that's not cool. And went to my inbox, and she had inboxed me and was like, you're a coach and you have a gym and you should just do it yourself. And I was like, no. And so she offered for me to do it myself. And, I had a gym and just no. And she was like, well, just go get the domain. Somebody probably saw your comment, is going to go get the domains. Just go get it. That was the setup, because once the domain happened, then it was just like full steam ahead. So that was the beginning of Brown Girls. You asked me about me and I just went right to Brown Girls. I always loved gymnastics, even though I did these other sports gymnastics, and I'm sure like once it's in your body, it's just there. So I would be like doing other stuff and pointing my toe, or like pitching a ball and still got gymnastics fingers. And so it just always kind of was there. And when I went to college, I went to Xavier, HBCU, and a professor stopped me before class and was like, I want to talk to you. She's my Spanish teacher. I was not a Spanish major, a science major, but had to take it. And I was just like, okay, and I thought I did something wrong maybe. And so after class I waited, and she was like, what's going on with you? You seem depressed. And I was like, dang, like this is a college professor, Dr. Derrin Moore, no relation, but and so she said, when were you happy? And I said, when I was doing gymnastics. And she was, yeah. And it just like flew out of my mouth. And which is weird, because again, I did like all of these other things, and she was like, well, you should do that again. And so I went to the administration and was like, hey, I want to start gymnastics.
Wow, that's big.
Yeah, it was kind of silly. And, it's a ambitious 18-year-old who thinks you just do whatever you want. But of course, they looked at me and kind of laughed. And you can go cheer, and I did cheer in high school, but that's not the same. And so they told me to go talk to a PE person. I went to talk PE, and that just never happened. So I started coaching. And I looked all around New Orleans for a gym to coach, and nobody paid attention to me or wanted me. I think at the time I probably didn't have any hair. I was definitely going through my super militant state. I guess I never really left that, but I was super. And so people weren't paying attention to me at all about that. And so I happened to walk into this gym, New Orleans East, and they were all Black kids. And I'd never seen that before in my life. And so I was in love, and I didn't care that they didn't have a regulation floor or just two beams, and and so that started my gymnastics coaching career. You did not even ask me all that. I'm just like, blah, blah, blah.
No, it's good to know. It's really good to know, because the thing is, it's very interesting of what you're saying, because, you walked into a gym and you found that gym there. The fact that you went to HBCU made a big difference. And how it started. I love the story. So keep going. So you started coaching. You're in college, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, you're in college and you're coaching.
Mhm. And it definitely took me from like, I mean, I had gained weight. Well, I guess a lot of freshmen do. I think I was probably a sophomore at this point, but I gained weight. I wasn't doing anything that was, I wasn't doing anything. I went from doing all of this stuff to like just going to school, and so it definitely gave me like an outlet. So of course I was, super obviously active. Well, I was young in coaching, so I was spotting everything that needed to be spotted. I didn't get to the age yet where it's like, okay, let me show you some real.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I made up my mind then that, so I had, my roommates were her major was actually Spanish and political science, but she wanted to be a chef at some point in her life, and she cooked everything and cooked for us. And so she talked about like opening something for children with her cooking abilities. And then my other roommate was an English major, and she wanted to write. She wanted to be an author, and so we talked about starting this company. Our Children is what we were going to call it. And so we'd have this cooking element, and then this writing thing, and then this gymnastics thing. And that didn't happen at Xavier, but or in New Orleans. But when I came to Atlanta, so I moved here really just to get away from home. And then I found a gym here that didn't really work out well for me. It was in the suburbs of Atlanta, and just not where I needed to be. So yeah, I came here and started coaching. It wasn't what I wanted, really. So my family also, like my granddad he passed away, a steel erection company growing up. So always owned his own company. My dad owns a couple grocery stores. So entrepreneurship has always been a thing, not foreign for me. And so it was like, well, I'm just going to start my own thing. And so, so our children was what I start. Our Children, Athletes and Artists was first. And I wanted to be in an underserved community and, coach these Black and brown kids, and mostly Black kids. And that did not work out. I didn't know what I was doing. I was young. And so I took a business writing class, and In Flight was born. And so In Flight was actually my gym for 13 years. We competed mostly AAU because we were small. So to get these girls like out of these levels, and then we'd score them out of USA and send them to bigger gyms. And so we had state, regional, national champs. We did really well for what we had. It really reminded me of New Orleans East, that gym from back in the day. And so I always knew that I wanted to. I always knew that I wanted to have this program in underserved communities. I knew that I always wanted to have something that was like very specifically for Black children. So not just the gym. Like I felt like there needed to be something else, like I thought about like a foundation, like you. I knew Wendy Hilliard, who Wendy Hilliard is, which is horrible because everybody should know from birth. But and so I thought about that, and then it was like I remember a lady saying, "Well, do you have any money?" And I was like, "Oh no." So that didn't work. And so when Brown Girls Do Gymnastics or Brown Girls Do Ballet, that whole thing kind of came up. It was like, you know what? Even though my hands are full, like I'm gonna do it, and have something that's like, even though In Flight, people who come through the doors of in-flight are usually Black, but it wasn't specifically for Black and brown girls. So Brown Girls really like checked that box for me. And then I closed my gym, and I closed my gym in 2018. And so Brown Girls, took that over for me. And that was tough. I closed it mostly because the area was changing a lot. It was always underserved, always Black girls, always educating the parents, but it got to the point where it was just kind of dangerous for us. My son, I had my son in 2016. So Brown Girls Do Gymnastics is a little bit older than him.
Right.
And so it was like, we're doing really good stuff with Brown Girls Do Gymnastics. So I'm just gonna like shift it to this, and be able to have that in a way. So yeah.
That's interesting. No, it's a lot of experience, which is good to know, because running a business is it takes a lot. It definitely takes a lot, and dealing with parents, and everybody in gymnastics knows that on a different level. It's a thing that you have to do. So when you really made the shift, so tell me more about everything that you guys do.
So we started the conference. The conference was like our first offering outside of social media. And so 2017 was our very first conference. The conference is, it's always been a 2-day conference. We incorporate adults and the gymnast. So the gymnast work out together. It's not a training camp. And I tell parents that all the time, it's a conference. So, I mean, it's a clinic for girls.
Right.
So it's there to I shouldn't even say clinic, because I guess you're learning there too, but it's for the girls to work out together. It's for camaraderie and seeing other Black and brown girls. We've gotten stories from other people that like they're the only Black girl on the team, or they're one of two. And it's crazy that that's still happening. I mean, that's how it was when I was a kid, but it's 2022. So,
No, it's still pretty much that way. I don't think people realize that. What I tell people, which is very interesting, is that even though Gabby and Simone, Gabby really Dominique in one way. Dominique started it, but really after Gabby, at least I was in the mix. And but it's not because they're on the high level. The grassroots gymnastics is not that way, and the statistics will show you.
Yeah.
So you get a lot of kids. Yeah. You get kids that come from different gyms, which is nice, because it is a thing. You came from and this is really interesting, because you went to HBCU. I think you have a different understanding of what that makes a difference with learning, and whether it's learning gymnastics or learning school. It's an environment that really makes a difference. And even in my foundation, I realized that, I was just doing my thing, but the parents would tell me, it's that we just wanted to be in an environment where all the coaches, looked like the kids that they were coaching. And I'll tell you a quick story on the other side. So my team in 2019 went to this competition in Trinidad. There's a girls artistic meet. It's been going on for years. And so one of my coaches was from Trinidad and the other one's from Tobago. So they took the girls, and I just kind of went. I wasn't going to, but they said, Wendy, we need a representative. I went down there, and I said that was the first time I was in a meet where everybody was Black, in a gymnastics meet.
Yeah.
And people were like, well, Wendy, for 1 year in the Caribbean, you should have expected that. But I was like, I've been in gymnastics for so long, and I've never been in an environment where the majority of people were of color. And it was really fun. And my kids, even though we're in New York and we're in Harlem and we're in Detroit, but when they go to competitions, they're oftentimes the only Black team, right? So they even noticed it and really enjoyed the experience. So that's a little thing. So go back, we had your conference, right? 2017, you said?
Yeah, sorry. And I completely get it. My kids they'd look around like, oh, but they weren't used to that. But yeah, so conference, Brown Girls Do Gymnastics conference, 2017, the first one. We did the first 3 in Atlanta, and that's where I am. And so the 4th year was COVID, so we did that virtually, and then the 5th year we had Grambling last year. So the conference is probably our biggest offering. We do virtual classes sometimes. We have a membership. The membership includes 10% off of events. So the virtual classes, you get 10% off of that. Merchandise, 10% off. They get a swag bag. I'm missing some. Oh, there's a parent workshop, monthly workshop that happens. So we do a monthly workshop for, well, we say adults, not parents. We'll try to say adults, not parents. And that's included in the membership also, or you can just pay for it. It's $15 each one. We have a program for getting more Black and Brown judges. So we do a Q&A, or we have done a Q&A for like a kind of 101 in judging, like what do you need to know? The plan is to add practice judging. So like a practice judging, we have 2 judges on our board. One who's actually like, that's her title for us, director of judging advancement, and the other is a physical therapist, but she's also a judge. So they kind of tag team on that. We have mentors who run our meetups. I forgot about that. So meetups are also included in the membership. And that's for the girls. It's all virtual. All of this is virtual. So the girls meet every second Sunday, and our mentors lead the workshops or lead the meetup. But our reps are also on the meetup with the mentors. And the reps are current collegiate gymnasts.
Right.
Or they could be, so that we have a girl, Yasmin, who's at Grambling now, but she was a level 10 gymnast. She's a rep, even though she's not, I mean, she can't compete gymnastics at Grambling, obviously. So we kind of let her come in as a rep.
So this is really interesting. So it's really wonderful, all your things you're doing, and the parent workshop's really important. And the meetups, that's really great. So tell us about the exciting news, the totally exciting news of Fisk University and how this whole thing is going to work.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I got my Fisk shirt on. So how did it happen? So we have a parent, her name's Terica. She's Terica Cromartie. She's actually, she had a reality show in USA, her and her husband. He's an NFL player. They have 7 children, I think, together. I know. And 2 are gymnasts. And she reached out a couple years ago, I guess, when we first, we have a leotard, Isla leotard. It's got our brand character on it, and she wanted Leos for all of the Black girls at her gym, and so they bought 23 leotards. I was like, what? And that's big for us. And so she's at Simone Biles' gym. So Jordan Childs was in the picture, and all this good stuff. And so we kind of kept in touch and talked a lot about the HBCU campaign, because her oldest she's a senior now. So that was a couple years ago. She was like a sophomore. And she was like, I want to help make this happen before my daughter goes to college. And this Thanksgiving, she had her uncle over for Thanksgiving dinner, and the uncle's asking the daughter, where are you going to school? And she's naming all of these PWIs. And he's like, well, why don't you have any HBCUs? And she was like, well, I'm a gymnast. And he's like,
wow.
And
yeah.
he was like, no, there are no gymnastics teams. And he was like, no, that's not possible. And she was like, oh yeah, it's happening. It's the case. And so her mom says, yeah, there's this organization, Brown Girls Do Gymnastics, and they're trying to bring gymnastics to HBCUs. Well, he happened to be a trustee at Fisk. And so I know, right? It's so, yeah, it's like, yay. So he says, well, I think we can make this happen. Gymnasts have to be smart is his logic. And so it's like, yeah, right, you
That's
know.
true. That's true.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's true.
And
Oh,
Fisk is all
exciting.
about academics. And what'd you say? I'm sorry.
I said it's exciting. That's such a great story, though.
Isn't that
So
crazy?
that was Thanksgiving this past year. I
Yep.
mean, like 2021. Wow, that's a pretty. I'm sure you've been working on it for a while, but that amount of time
Yeah.
is so long.
Yeah. Yeah. I always like I can't ever remember I don't know if it's a quote because I don't know who said it, but when preparation meet opportunity, you know, it's
Yes,
like, I mean, for literally 7 years, we've been like trying to talk to ADs and, you know, trying to knock down
interesting.
doors. Nobody, I mean, there have been a couple people who would have the conversation. And even Grambling came out of nowhere because they weren't on our list. Their location wise, we just didn't add them because it didn't make sense for gymnastics, is what we thought. They're kind of like secluded, you know, in the country in Louisiana. And so they reached out on their own. But that was like, we couldn't believe that, you know? And so the same kind of thing happened with Fisk. They were not on our list. And
Wow.
yeah, so it's amazing. And it did happen super fast. They were so excited that that gymnasts, like the median GPA from, well, I don't know if this stat is wrong, but 3.6
I
for
would. That sounds like right.
mm-hmm.
Yep. If it's
Yeah,
not higher, but yep, that sounds just
exactly.
about right. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Umi Beasley Salim from
hmm
Rutgers, yeah,
Rutgers, sure.
she's on our advisory council, and she's been helping us out since almost the very beginning. And you know, she's so eloquent in her speech, and I guess I shouldn't say that about Black folks, but but
I get it.
yeah, she like joined on some calls, and they loved the idea.
Great. That's actually a really great. I mean, Umi's great, so she could talk from her experience.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's great. Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
yeah, and she
Wow.
wanted to go to Howard, so her, similar to what happened to me at Xavier,
Mm.
Howard and says, I want to do gymnastics, or do you have a gymnastics team? And they laughed, and they're like, we're a Black school, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
it's
it's
crazy.
hard. It's funny because my son's at Howard now, so he's a sophomore there, and
Howard was
he
top
actually
of our list, but
really. I know there's a lot going on there. Believe me, I don't want to keep this in the conversation, but he was also a fencer, and he
oh
really
wow.
wanted to fence. They don't have competitive fencing there yet, so that's kind of a thing that I got to think about. But I see what you're saying, and it's interesting the conversation that now these HBCUs for non-traditional sports basically
Yeah,
should be a lot more open, and because the grades are always going to be there
right.
usually for
Yeah,
whatever reason, right?
yeah, yeah,
Interesting.
yeah,
Wow, that's really exciting. I mean, I'm so glad we had a chance to talk about this, to learn more about it. It's interesting because I talked to Umi because I really do want to, even though I'm a rhythmic gymnast, but I really do want kind of all of us to come together,
yeah,
right? Because now my son's in TNT, and so there's a whole. I'm learning more about all the different entities, and then we just did a story about Miles Avery. He was like so amazing. And what's funny about, I have to say, which I love doing the Black gymnasts here, everyone thinks we're doing research. It's not like that. It
yeah,
just kind of evolves. And then someone gives us a call or they send us a message. I mean, and so, but it's been really wonderful because to find out what's out there and what people are doing, and that I was really thinking I want us all somehow to get together to support
yeah,
each other because that's what it's about.
yeah.
um yeah, and it's just an exciting it's exciting work that you're doing and really encouraging
Thanks.
to all the young people. But the HBCU thing, that's big. That's the big milestone. Congratulations on that.
I
I'm sure
appreciate
it's only the start, you
I
know?
hope so. I hope so. I hope more schools want to, it's needed. Fisk can't be the only
Yes,
school. So
right. Oh my goodness. So that's exciting. So I'm glad we're going to stay in touch. I'm so glad we are doing this. And sometimes you just have to do it as you find out you're doing stuff. You're busy. You got a little one at home. Yeah. But yeah, but I want to thank you for taking the time to do this. You've always been so responsive. Um, and we're going to do something. We have a few more days left in the month, right? At the end of the week or till Sunday. But we definitely want to promote it. It's just exciting to hear, how really you've just turned this wonderful organization, which is well needed, but it's a lot of work. And I'm sure in the end, I'm sure it's hard to let go of your gym, but just look at how much more your impact is. You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? It's yeah, it really is. And it's just amazing when you see what's going on now, that it's so needed. I think your message is that even though we've got these top kids, the other part, the grassroots and the development, because you said the parent thing, which I found out too. So when we went to this Trinidad, we were having dinner with the parents. They were talking to the coaches, and the parents were clueless about how the collegiate thing worked.
Yeah.
I mean, just
Yeah.
didn't know at all.
Yeah.
So what you're doing is really, really important that people know what options they have out there. And just for everybody else that they don't know what a PWI is, but everybody who's listening will know. So that's okay. I know. It's okay.
My bad.
Yeah, but hey, that's it. You got to listen and Google it. So there you go.